like a dream. It's like a fairy tale. Recorded outside the Belfry Tower, which is number 77 in Bruges. This is long play video.
Well, what an intro. Great intro. Thank you. Thank you for our guest intro, for our guest introist. The intro was live, but now we're back in the shop. It's just a quiet Tuesday evening. So we've closed up after a hard day, just for the two of us to relax and, almost just be in a fairy tale. In a fairy tale movie, as the intro says, at number 77, in Bruges, which
the well-known fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale, which I believe you have seen before.
I have seen.
Do you remember it a lot? I mean, do you having seen a movie doesn't necessarily.
That doesn't count for a lot these days. I wonder if that's how I should order them. It's like the volume of memories I have on the films I've seen.
I remember probably, like forever in your brain now. So that's you get so that you avoid it.
God, there's some exactly. The negative experiences always stay longer than the positive ones, don't they? I have seen this, obviously I remember it with Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. I remember lots of scenes between those two, like two great big heavy hitters, really doing well in a good part of their careers. Maybe Brendan Gleeson's at the end, but he's a really good, sort of traditional actor. And obviously Colin Farrell was in his purple patch.
I tell you what, funny enough, I disagree with that, and it's come up in a couple of the pods that I've listened to about it. I think Colin Farrell. This is like when he was starting to.
Is he now your favorite?
Let me take you through everything he's ever done. No, I think this is this is him not being very popular. I think this is like he has had some absolute stinkers, and almost this kind of rejuvenates him and kind of brings him back, because this is he still has
give me the running.
He still has the Total Recall remake after this, but this is after Miami Vice. This is after Alexander. This is after SWAT. This is after Daredevil. So
SWAT's okay.
Well, I mean, you're either SWAT or you're not. So, so this is like he came on. He sort of got very big. I think he burned out, and he was like the wild child image, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then kind of for me, I think like Miami Vice was sort of the epitome of that, like absolutely tanking, maybe Alexander, but then Miami Vice shortly after. And then this being sort of a pared back film, I think this actually kind of brings him back in, and you do see him then kind of doing a bit more of the kind of comedy and character, not only in Seven Psychopaths, which is obviously the same writer and director, but he was in Horrible Bosses. And he sort of he starts to actually kind of play a bit with the image. But I would say this is sort of resurrection for him, which maybe is quite apt for the story as well. But this definitely isn't like him at his peak. Like, how on earth did they manage to get him? I think by this stage he's pretty unpopular, really. After Miami Vice is just a travesty, isn't it? So
Alexandra, that's definitely possibly that is going to be on the list of worst films to ever have to watch.
At 76.
So maybe exactly. The worst films that we ever can watch. Per minute. Okay, so sorry, maybe I mean more established. Is maybe what I mean. Like they're both established actors, and And yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's a good thing that neither of them are like, you know, top A-listers at the time.
Yeah.
And so they can just, and it's a bit more, I don't know if you would say it's not an independent movie, but it kind of sort of has that kind of
I think,
feel.
it is it is an independent movie, I'd say, definitely. Like,
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and I think from that, then you get that. I think that it gives you that closeness, right? Because you can't do giant, big, you know, explosions and things. And obviously, it is a character-based film rather than, you know, a story-based film as such. And so, yeah, I think it's, yeah, I remember lots of just silly scenes with the two of them when they're just sitting on like a bench, just talking about random stuff. And it's just funny, like the two of them. I imagine some of it must have been ad-libbed as well, where they were just riffing off each other, because they just seem like they work so well together. So yeah, I do remember it, and yeah, it's a good film. So yeah, so why does it make it on the list?
Yeah, so I mean, just to that point, actually, like Rafe. Obviously, Ray Fiennes probably actually the biggest of the three, well, and he's in it quite a lot. He's central protagonist. So yeah, I kind of I remember watching on DVD. It's almost one of those things that you just don't get as much anymore, because it didn't do anything in the box office. Did like just under 40 million of the box office, but then really was a cult sort of. It came back on DVD. I'm fairly sure that I got it through Love Film back in the day. Shout out to Love Film. I have a list of films that I sent to my brother to put on his Love Film, where like when we first got the subscription. Maybe some of them don't stand the test of time. Maybe there's a couple too many Andy movies on there. But this was one of them. And then it like really kind of got a following, and like, I remember everyone talking about it and kind of saying that they'd seen it and stuff. So it was, I thought it was funny. I thought it was good. And then obviously, sort of Martin McDonagh, the writer and director, has then done kind of, movies afterwards. So Seven Psychopaths was his follow-up, which didn't do so well. And then Three Billboards, and then Banshees of Inisherin, kind of the last couple of years. And I remember, so Banshees was kind of coming out, and I like his style of movie. So I sort of started reading about him a bit more, and just kind of then like had no idea about it when I originally watched it. But like he is, so like this kind of story is that he's a playwright. He's written 6 plays, and basically like wrote them all at the same time, and then kind of got discovered. And like 4 of them were playing in the West End simultaneously, which is like, the headline is that he's the first person since Shakespeare to have like 4 plays running simultaneously in the West End. And he was, and he'd kind of, just had this sort of major sort of writing kind of fit, and got all of these out, but it had always kind of said that he wanted to get into movies. There's a couple of kind of conceits, I think, in the plays, like one where there's a bomb and you don't know if the bomb's going to go off or not. But obviously in a theatre, you kind of know the bomb's not going to go off because it's a theatre. So he very much wanted to write what he wanted to write, but to do it in a film, so that, because the theatre, just wouldn't be able to do it. So I kind of read quite a lot about him. Obviously referenced at the end of last pod as well. So he was out at a Evening Standard, I think it was, sort of awards ceremony, and he tells it that he was getting quite drunk with his brother, who's also a writer. Wrote the Cavalry, which is another Brendan Gleeson movie. And then someone was toasting the Queen, and obviously he's a good Irish lad, so was giving a little bit of back chat. And then Sean Connery apparently told him to sit down and to be quiet. And he took a moment and then told Sean Connery to go away in quite direct terms. Following on the back of Thunderball, obviously Sean, God rest his soul, probably wouldn't like the double viewing. But like
this double head is
but like had this really sort of reputation of being sort of the bad guy of enfant terrible of theatre, and then kind of came into this. And was an unknown movie writer and director, but like then having kind of found all of that out sort of fairly recently for Banshees and in the last couple of years, I then went back and watched this, and watching it with that context of like, this is theatre and this is a script, and this is all like, this is it's almost like a play, but a play in a film. Just completely just kind of, I was just like blown away by by the depth of it, and like some of the ideas and some of the kind of the themes that run through it, like on that probably like second or third watching. I'd watched it a couple of times, but with that kind of context, I was just like, oh wow, like actually no, this has a lot of depth to it, and it really is like really, really well put together. And then kind of got me thinking about it, and kind of went in, and it's almost kind of, it's this high, because kind of, it's almost like the more that you think about it, the more there is to think about it, and almost I haven't spent that much time on it, but I can imagine after another watch, and like again, as we've sort of said a couple of times, like a critical watch, as we tend to do when you've got to then record for half an hour.
We are big critiques now. We're going to be on the front of DVD covers very soon.
If only there was DVD covers, we would definitely be on them.
We're going to be all over them. Okay. So we started to say like this is maybe the first Inception. Then it's a film within a play within
and then it has a film within the film, right? So that's which I think does also have a message in like what he's trying to say. So I think like
there's so many messages everywhere. Well, how are we going to get through it? I've just had a look at his IMDb page as well, on the old slow computer here. He looks like Sting. I was like,
it does a little bit.
I was like, is that a Sting? A Sting just being like got a separate extra career that no one knows
I
about.
have never seen the two of them together at the same time. Take from that.
Where's Sting? Oh, he was here. He was here a minute ago.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine if that's a secret double life? Oh, that would be the best.
It's done well. It's done well. And that's and the reason why it sort of did. I think some of the reason why it did so bad. If we take a look at the DVD cover, you're just kind of like,
this is going to be the big hit.
Like what is going on? What is?
Yeah, and considering it's set in Belgium, which, I would say architecture-wise, Belgium is probably going to be up there with like the top places in the world. It's some incredible architecture there, and none of that is on the DVD at all.
Yeah, and I mean the tagline of "Shoot first, sightsee later" is exactly wrong. Because the entire point is that they sightsee first, and then the shooting comes after. So like it's,
and he's even got at the front cover it says "In Bruges," and then in tiny letters it's in Belgium, like as if he had to tell people like in the US or something. Where's this? What's this place that you're talking about?
Yeah, that might be. He mentions that at the very beginning of the film, actually, like in the voiceover. Colin Farrell is like, "Oh yeah, they sent me to Bruges. It's in Belgium," because obviously he's familiar with the fact. But like he's got an ice cream. Like I don't know what the point of that is. Like
it's a bit weird, isn't it?
I mean, the swan is there because Ray Fiennes talks about a swan, and then even like the pictures on the back, they're just bizarre. Like
it's just, is that him eating another ice cream?
Yeah, I mean,
not I'm a big fan of ice cream, so I'm all over this. But
ever featured twice.
It's not. This isn't about an ice cream van.
It's not Moneyball all over again. It's not.
No. So, I mean, if you saw this DVD cover, you'd have no idea, and you haven't seen it, you'd have no idea what this film's about. You'd just be like, is this straight out of Colin Farrell's mind after he's been on like a massive bender? I think did he put this together himself? It's very confusing, but then an enjoyable watch for someone that would have no idea what's about to happen.
I mean, I think it would be a bit of a shock if you had literally no idea. But I'm sure, like, now, I mean, it would have Martin McDonagh's, from the director and from the writer of Three Billboards, and Banshees, because they stood
Yes,
so well. I mean, it was up
true.
for best original screenplay for the Oscars, got nominated, lost out to Milk, which is interesting. I mean, I wouldn't say that I remember the Milk screenplay.
That's Sean
Yeah.
Penn?
Which I think he won the Oscar for that. It's good movie. I wouldn't say that I remember the screenplay being amazing. Whereas I think like this is again, because it's a play, I think you could read this screenplay and actually it would like hold up.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching it again. I must say, I can't remember the first time I watched it, but luckily I do remember having seen it, which is always a bonus.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to the interplay between Brendan and Colin. I remember that being really good, and it's just it's very sort of I guess maybe it's very British as well. It's that real deadpan, just like them talking about stuff and saying stuff that's just it's like humorous to you, but it always shouldn't be. Just really, I think the scenes between them two, I'm really looking forward to, and obviously the ice-cream moments and things. I don't remember that being actually a big thing.
Thing played up with gelato. It's always good. Yeah, no, I think the language is really interesting in it because, I think for me, like having watched it, I don't know, like a couple of years ago, or sort of since Banshees, which I think is it's only like two years old now. And like, and it's especially kind of, having read a couple of reviews and stuff about it, and like people are like, oh, well, almost sort of, the kind of, can he say the things that he says, and you shouldn't say that. But I think that's part of the point. And I think that's part of what Martin McDonagh is doing is like, you can judge him because he says some slurs and he says some things that aren't very nice. He also kills people for a living. And so, like, where is your morality? Are you more offended that he talks about Brendan Gleeson ordering a gay beer because it's like a Belgian beer? Or should you be more offended that he kills people? So clearly he is not the hero because he kills people. And I think that's like, this is, I think, even more apt and even more kind of fitting for nowadays than it was in 2008, of like, where is the morals in this? Where is your morality? And almost you can look at it as like, Colin Farrell is there, and basically like Brendan Gleeson and Ralph Fiennes are kind of, it's almost like a morality play, right? And he's in the middle, and there's sort of there's like the evil and the good battling over his soul to a certain extent. And I do think it is actually a morality play, but just kind of updated. But then who is actually the moral person? And I think that's like, just think about that. Like,
no one here really. They're all involved in. I mean, spoilers. It's a film about hitmen. I mean, they're all involved. So I don't think you can say anyone's really winning the morality game.
Yeah, and that's and even like all of the side characters the same, right? Because obviously, like they make a point of like pretty much everyone that has a talking part. Are they good or bad, or are they a mix, or are they like, where is the gray? And like, but especially Colin Farrell, like his character is very true to its character, right? So he is uneducated. He's not very bright, and so then he says things that aren't very bright and are quite ignorant. But that's kind of the point. But then he also learns throughout the play, and there is quite a lot of character development, especially for him, probably way more than the others. And so then it's about sort of seeing his development, and whether you can change, and whether you can forgive both yourself and whether you can be forgiven. And I think like tied into all of that is kind of like a little bit of a comment on kind of Catholicism, and if you ask to be forgiven, does that then make everything okay, even if you've done some pretty bad stuff? Like, I think that's all. It's all rolled in, and it's
getting deep.
And it completely is. And I was completely like, the last time I watched it, I was just like, wow, this is like Inception. This levels to this. It's but it's basically murder camp all the way down. But it's like
But at least we know up front, right?
There'll be no surprises.
We've got it. Yeah, I'm not getting sold by these OS screens. They're not sending me down the path where I think this is going to be a happy film. There's a lot of guns around. I can still see what's going on.
Everyone's got a gun. So yeah, it will be interesting, like for you to watch it. Like I wanted to give you that context, kind of going into it, because I think like it really changed the way that I was paying attention to other stuff, having seen it. Which again, I think like it's because obviously I'm a film geek. But also, I think like now people coming into it will come into it differently because of his other films, and especially because of Three Billboards and Banshees doing so well, that actually like people will go, oh, okay, well, what was his first film? And go back and watch this. And for me, this is still the best script, and this is still the best of his films so far. But I think it's really interesting, like obviously for us watching this first and then watching the others. Now, if you kind of come across this now, it's going to be with the backing of that he's been nominated for 3 Oscars, and he's had like I think 6 actors who have been nominated for Oscars in his films. Because I think Frances McDormand actually won it. Sam Rockwell was nominated, or maybe even won it for 3 Billboards. Obviously, Colin Farrell was nominated for Banshees. So like, you kind of come at it at a different angle, which I think will only do this film like justice, and will only like make this film more popular. And
they're all very character-based films, right? Like, so he's obviously, as you're saying, it's really comes down to that, the fact that it is, maybe his background is maybe from that theatrical screenplay sort of side. And so he really understands you have to develop characters, because obviously, as you said, in theatre, you don't necessarily have these great like high expensive productions. So you need the audience to, be drawn in by the characters, and they have to have depth to the characters. And so, often, as you're saying, I think when you have those good scripts, that's when you really see them really shine. And I still reckon there'd have been good ad-libbing between them as well. I think like when you get scripts that are probably so good, and you get these two characters, probably Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, I need to check, but I bet they both probably came up on, sort of old sort of theatrical type paths. So it's probably similar to what they've done before, and they're used to in their early careers, and where you're just batting off the other person, what they're doing, where they're going, and you get into this sync, and that's the whole point, right? We talk about films being escapism. Maybe they sort of escape themselves while they're filming. They just almost become the characters, and it's almost like they are just two people having this conversation. And then that's what makes it so believable, as in it's the escapism of the story. That they are actually two people. This is actually kind of happening. So
and I think you can just sort of think that they just almost sort of shot this like back to back, and like it kind of took them like and I think it's just under 2 hours, and you're like, okay, like the feeling that you get is like you shot this in like 2.5 hours, and then you were done, because it's so. Like they're all so in sync. I think all of the characters are kind of so well crafted that again, as you say, like I don't know whether they were ad-libbing or not, but like the characters and the motivations and what they are so well defined that as an actor, I'm sure it's like a real pleasure to kind of play this, right? Because you're like, this is what you say, but you know what? This is why you say it. This is the background. This is this is exactly what you think as the character. And then actors are just going to be able to be like, okay, great, I'll just be that character for this and run with it.
And I think like we said, obviously all the people that are in it, they're all like really good, strong actors, and I think that helps as well, right? So Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Ralph Fiennes, they're all really strong. So I think that all helps, where you can you're not holding anyone up, you're not having to wait for them to drop the line incorrectly, whatever. You can just imagine them all, just going, cool, we all know what we're doing. And just like you said, it's almost like they spend a week together on set, just going around, clearly just eating ice cream in Belgium. And then they start filming, and they film for like 2 days, and then that was it. And then we go home.
There's not a lot else to do in Bruges, to be fair. So once you've seen the chocolate museum and the tower, it's it's we'll get into which side we come down for Bruges maybe in the second half. But
all right, well, let's get some Belgian chocolates on the go, some Belgian beers and some ice cream.
Let's get it on, and we can put it on. Awesome.
Yeah, nice.
So Kev's gone off to get the Belgian chocolate gelato that we were just talking about. Obviously on the rewatch, I think it's gonna be really interesting. I think he's going to like go for like thought provoking or maybe profound or something. I think it is different when you start thinking about it as a play. So I think that's what he's going to be more focused on. I think he's going to think it's a bit different to the first time that he watched it, but we'll see.
So I think, like Bruges, a bit boring. Yes. Yeah.
You don't mean like a fairy tale?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm joking for everyone, all of our Belgian listeners. Obviously, I love Bruges, but yeah, I don't know. It wasn't. Oh, it didn't feel good watching it again. I was like, it felt like it was draining a bit. It was a bit slow.
It's very slow, isn't it? First 20 minutes is really slow. I don't remember it being like that. Maybe the first time you watch it, you're almost waiting to see what happens. So you have more suspense because I noticed that as well.
Yeah, it was so. I mean, I think the three actors are great, and that makes such a big difference. And I think when Ralph Fiennes comes into it as well, like it's really like it gears up, and he just really shows you how good an actor he is, because he really elevates it, I think, once he comes into it.
Yeah.
And it's good them all just sort of chatting and stuff. But yeah, it meanders, doesn't it, for so long. It doesn't even show like nice bits of Bruges. It's sort of showing you like the bad bits or like the average bit. And it's just like, what's happening? And then he just goes on this weird, like, it's almost like Colin Farrell's character is just in a dream, and we're just following this dream. And we're like, what's happened? Yeah, I don't know. It definitely was. It was definitely more of a struggle than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. No, it is funny that watching it this time, and again, I think as we said, when you're sort of watching it a little bit more critically, because if you're going to have to talk about it, you sort of you notice these things. I think the sort of, as we talked about before we watched it, the kind of, I think it is very theatre. And I think obviously there's some things that they wouldn't be able to do in a theatre, so they've almost done it in a film. But because of that, it's very dialogue heavy and trying to get the point across. But what were the pieces that you did like about it?
I think really the three main, like you said, if you think about it more as a play, that the three main actors are really good. You know, that their interaction's really good. Really did like Ralph Fiennes. I think his character is just great, and he played it so well. Especially as you're kind of used to him being M now in James Bond. I was like, he's good to see him sort of remember that he used to do other things. So I think that was good, like the interaction between those three. But then there's not, I mean, it is a real, like you said, it is almost like a play. So it's really just revolving around their characters. Nothing really happens in the film. I mean, they sit in a bed sit basically, and then they go to the pub, and then they see that they're filming a film. I mean, that's pretty much all that happened. There's nothing else that goes on at all. Obviously, they replay. I forgot about the scene when, or the reason that they're in Bruges is because he completed his job of obviously killing that priest, but then he also killed the kid.
Yeah.
I was like, God, yeah, I forgot about that. So,
I mean, that's quite a major plot point.
Yeah, I know. It's like the key piece of the plot, really. But yeah, now I completely forgot about that, because I was thinking, I remember that they both want to kill each other at the end, but I couldn't remember, why. So yeah, I don't know. The characters are good. I think you're right. If it was a play on stage, you'd probably be a bit more forgiving. But I think as a movie, it just meanders too much, and it's just not enough. There's not enough in there So yeah, I don't know, what do you like?
Yeah, I thought it was a brave attempt, and I think it was a good, almost like maybe first attempt for kind of him going into Martin McDonagh going into a film almost for the first time. I mean, he had a short before this that obviously won an Oscar for best short film, so it is quite good. I just watched it the other day. But I think what I did kind of like is almost the phone call between Ken and Howie. Like because obviously up until that point, Howie is like as a character off scene, and you kind of hear him on the phone, but almost. And I remember thinking that when I watched it the first time as well, that you're not sure whether he's ever going to appear. And then when Ken's like, oh, I actually like Bruges, it's just like a fairy tale, and puts the phone down, and then literally it's him holding the phone. I rewound it. He stands there doing nothing for 15 seconds. Which in a movie is actually quite a long time. And then obviously he just joins the phone, and the great line about you're an inanimate object, which is just it's just so funny. I think that's sort of really, really good. The way that like Howie is this presence that's like deciding who lives and who dies, but is off screen for most of it. The moment when he says, "Oh yeah, he was a good kid, wasn't he?" and like the realization on Ken's face when he's just like, what do you mean? And then he's like, oh yeah, no, he was good. I'm glad that I gave him Bruges.
I know, of all the places. And then when he tells Colin Farrell, and he's like, are you kidding me? This is supposed to be happiness. It's supposed to be making my life better. We should be here.
And I think that's like the theme, right? I think, with kind of probably looking out for a bit more. And I think this is another funny film that we're now going to dissect, and it's not going to be funny. But like having kind of watched it again, I think that's what the message is trying to come across, right? It's all about balance, and whether you can balance out things. The conversation that they have, and Ken's like, I try and live a good life, but I have to balance that out with the fact that I've killed people, like even a lollipop man. But the lollipop man might have known karate. But I think that's kind of thing is like, Ken's trying to, I think he's obviously sort of a bit done with the life, and is trying to now kind of morally find a place, which he thinks, I think kind of him saving Ray is his kind of, okay, well, this balances out with the horrible things that I've done. And then Howie kind of obviously has sent Ray to Bruges to try and balance out the fact that he's going to kill him, which is sort of playing with it quite comedically, and it is funny. But then with Ray, obviously, like, he's killed a priest, he's killed a kid, and I just don't think they kind of hit. I just don't think it hit right that he'd done anything to balance out with that. Like, okay, Bruges is like purgatory, and as I kind of said before, like, Ray and Ken and Howie are kind of the sort of almost the good and the bad. So which way is he going to go? But I don't like Ray just doesn't do anything until like literally the last 5 sentences when he's like, oh, I'm going to go and ask for forgiveness from the mum. But like almost by that, it's almost a bit of a like that's very late in the film to then say, well, he's asked for forgiveness, and therefore, like, that's him kind of repenting of his sins, and then you kind of go into the whole sort of Catholicism, which obviously is throughout the film. But that's what I think. I get what I think I get what it was trying to do, but I'm just like, but Ray doesn't actually do anything from a redeeming feature. Like, there's literally there's nothing that he does that redeems him, like at all.
I think that's why I don't remember the kid being killed, because it happened obviously in the flashback scene, and then you're right. The rest of the film, they don't really talk about it at all. It's not like he's distraught and he's just in the pub just drinking all the time because he's like that kid. They barely reference it, and so I think that's why I just remember it. I'm like, and you're like, oh, hold on a minute, you killed a kid. Should you be like doing something else, or should you be more traumatized?
Yeah, exactly. But then obviously, like, Ray is the kid, right? And that was sort of a lot more noticeable for me this time, like, again, because I was kind of watching out for it. But the kid is at the at the church, and he's repenting, being moody, being bad at maths, and being sad.
Yeah.
And obviously that's the same, you know, those all sins that Ray is guilty of. And then, you know, I think that Harry and Ken always refer to Ray as the kid. I think Ken even says at one stage, "Are you acting like a 5-year-old?" So like, yeah, it's sort of, I think there's a lot of illusions that he's the same. But again, like, you're like, yeah, okay. But also he's not done like, so maybe he deserves to die, like, because he's taken another one. And, you know, almost they're like, well, make sure that the next kid doesn't die, like save the next one. And it's quite funny when he's like, well, what am I going to do, become a doctor? You need exams. And you're like, just like the exams being the catch-all,
the only thing holding you back.
If only I could pass exams, I'd be a doctor by now. But
I didn't remember. I was going to say, one of the things I obviously about the kid, didn't remember that. And then also, I didn't remember like the full-on bloodbath at the end. Like, I remember everyone sort of, you know, either dies or is either heavily injured. I don't remember Ken. I thought, in my mind, I thought that, oh yeah, he gets killed by Harry. I don't remember him committing suicide. You're like, whoa,
that sound effect is just.
And then I'm like, he somehow still gives a message to Ray. You're like, no way, you'd be dead. You'd definitely be dead. And then obviously it goes on to full on like sort of, you know, all like crazy scene where everyone's just shooting everyone, and obviously then when the actor gets killed, and then Harry's like, oh no, and then I completely forgot about that as well. And he's like, well, I've just killed a kid, and so then he kills himself. And you're like, oh my god! So I guess that was a nice twist at the end. But yeah, I didn't remember there was like such a bloodbath at the end. It just seemed a bit weird. I don't know. Was there anything else that you noticed on this rewatch other than that?
I feel like a lot of the jokes are kind of at Ray's expense, and Ray just being a bit of an idiot. And I felt like that was punching down a bit much. Like, and obviously, like, Ray has a lot of slurs and he like a lot of his jokes, but almost the joke is kind of, look at this guy, he's so stupid, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like when he's like, I don't know any Belgian jokes, and I wouldn't be stupid enough to say them. Oh wait, I do know a Belgian joke, and then tells it. And you're just like, it just feels like he's the butt of a lot of the jokes, which is funny because the first time I watched it, I don't think I sort of thought about that at all. Like he's the hero or he's the main character, but this time it felt like he wasn't really. And then he only bought the one shirt with him because he seems to be in the same shirt for every day.
Well, he's traumatized. He's just killed a kid.
He's just got out of London as quickly as possible. And then
definitely, I was going to say, like you said, like the slurs and the stereotypes definitely was like, that was really noticeable. Like you said, when you're analysing it more anyway, and obviously it's an older film, but you were like, it definitely felt uncomfortable with the volume of them. And you're like, well, it's a shame because you've obviously got 3 good actors there. They're interacting very well with each other. And then you kind of add this element in that just every now and then it just like, just then feel a little bit uncomfortable. Silly.
But as I said, like that is interesting that's the thing that makes us feel uncomfortable, not that he's killed a kid or like that they're all murderers. And I think that's maybe, I don't know, maybe that's part of the message. Although I also think, slurs in 2008, like as a character trait was kind of like, oh, that's a bit naughty and that's a bit funny. And now it's like, no, you shouldn't really be doing that even as a joke. So almost his character, I think, would have to be a lot worse of a person doing that now than he needs to be in 2008 doing the same thing, which I think is sort of funny how that's changed.
That's interesting. That's a good point, because we've always been desensitized by movies, but he's just a hitman. Oh, he's killed a kid. Yeah, you're right. It's almost like, but we know that's not real. But then you're like, but he said stuff that's no, that's not. No. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Yeah, you're right. I do just sort of get desensitized. I guess that's the thing. in the movies, we know it's not real, and so we're happy to go along with the story, but we don't want it to include things that where I guess you're kind of, like you said, it's punching down, isn't it? Is you kind of sort of, you're also having to go at people that, collectively almost. Whereas, if it's just a film about a hitman, okay, we know he's killed a kid, but we know that's not real. If it was a real true story about someone that killed a kid, I think we'd be a lot more concerned to be like, I don't know if we should be watching this.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, and I think that's like playing with the language and stuff. Obviously, Martin McDonagh's like a very intelligent, and a very good script writer. So I think that's kind of, I think he's writing from experience about the type of character that he's describing. That, he's on the streets of Dublin, and obviously this is the first time he's killed anyone, and he's sort of being brought in, so he's not the most educated person in the world, and you kind of get all of that. But I think nowadays I think that would be displayed in other ways rather than just kind of he's a bit ignorant. And again, I kind of remembered that I thought that he sort of that he did learn a bit more, and that he did actually, like, maybe that he stopped the slurs, or he sort of got better as the film went on, which again would be sort of a redeemable characteristic. But I just don't think he did. I just think he continues on doing exactly the same things as he did at the beginning, quite happily. So bumbles his way through.
And then I thought at the end, I thought he was definitely going to die because he got shot. Harry takes that crazy shot. And then I'm like, he's got to be dead. He's got to be dead. And then somehow, out of everyone that dies in this film that deserves to die, Ray definitely deserves to die.
Yeah.
And then you're like, is he going to be the only one that survives? What is happening here?
Yeah. Shot through the body 5 times with dum-dums. I'm not sure that's not sure you walk away from that or stumble away from that. So
no.
And then obviously, it was, the film set is obviously the painting that he likes about the Judgment Day. And again, I was just a bit like, okay, so he's in Judgment Day. I get that, but he's not done he's still going to be judged poorly, surely, because he's not actually done anything to redeem himself. Like, he half mumbles that it's not really a kid, but doesn't stop Harry from killing himself. So. I don't know. I just didn't. For me, the moral arc of his character just didn't quite get there.
No, I agree. I think it didn't quite hold up. So, how did you describe it to the aliens then?
So rather than using 30 words, I just went with 3. Worst fairy tale ever.
Wow, blimey.
Because they talk about it being a fairy tale so much. You're just like, this is not a fairy tale.
No, it's definitely not. What it is it's very much on the grim side of fairy tales than on the Disney side.
What did you have?
I had 2 hitmen travel to the most boring place in the world, so much so they don't want to kill anyone. But,
I mean, the whole stopping him killing himself, and then that is like a funny. I think that's a funny circumstance that he doesn't kill himself, and he's, even when Harry's talking about it, it's like, well, it would have solved my problem, would have solved your problem. It sounds like it would have solved Way's problem.
He's like, why didn't you just do it? That was an interesting thing, because obviously you're following Harry, and you're like, okay, he definitely, because you're not sure if he's going to kill him or not. I'm thinking, okay, looks like not Harry, so Ken, and then you're following Ken, and you think, oh, he is actually going to shoot him, and then obviously when Ray brings up the gun to shoot himself, Ken's like, oh no, like this is all wrong. I'm like, and you're just sort of like you said, like, well, no, it's fine, because you were going to kill him anyway. And you're right, he has killed a kid. You got to be like, well, especially, I don't know how many morals there are in this line of business, but there's got to be some kind of line in the sand, I guess, where you go, well, that's too far. You've got to be taken out.
It's a matter of honor, as Harry says. So.
Exactly.
But that's right. For me, like, that is the question that it does ask is like, yeah, can you balance out bad things that you've done with good things in the future? And it is that kind of that moral question, which I think is in it a lot, and is good, but I'm not sure that it sort of answers it in a good way, which in my memory, I kind of remember it being like the way does, like, you know, when Ken even sort of says, well, he's got the ability to change and lead a good life. I'm a bit like, really? Like, when's he shown that to us? Like, what's he done? He hasn't been a great companion in Bruges. So
no, the fairy tale city. Yeah, no, I think that's it. You're right. You don't, if it's all about judgment and you know, how we judge people, or whether there's the ability to repent and to rehabilitate. Yeah, he doesn't really, there's nothing in the film, is there? I mean, he to deal with the fact that he's killed a kid, he goes, right, let's go and do some drugs and drink some beer. And you're like, well, not sure that's really the repentant answer, is it? But yeah. Did you have any good genre that you thought of for this one?
I mean, I wondered almost just, could the humor be a little less dark? I think that would, like a few more laughs in there that I think, like, just evened out a bit more. I think could have, could have maybe helped it along.
Yeah. I thought maybe like a buddy cop movie. I thought that'd be good. Like, you remove the kids there, and then you would just have like them on a mission, effectively in Bruges, just like hang around going, how boring is this? But they're on like a mission, rather than just are we supposed to be in this so-called fairy tale city, repentive?
Just finding people to kill or bring to justice.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, there's that basically make it, which we obviously will get to like similar films, but I thought, does that then just make it basically the Hitman's Bodyguard? I was like, is like exactly this same film, basically? Someone watch In Bruges and go, if we made this a lot funnier, what can when we take out the death, what can we do? Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Do you have any good lines that you thought of? It was hard here because you're like, there's some that are good, some that are like, oh, terrible.
I think I want a normal gun for a normal person. That was quite funny. I did always say, it is funny when he says, well, and I try and live a good life. If I saw a little old lady with her shopping, I mean, I wouldn't help her out. I wouldn't go that far, but I'd open the door for her. And you're like, oh yeah, that will make up for killing people. And then I thought when he says, I mean no disrespect, but you're a C. You've always been a C. And I just love the way that he prefaced it with, oh no, just no disrespect, and then just goes on a tirade about him and his kids. You take that back about my kids.
That is such a good scene. Yeah, exactly. The whole scene's great because they're all like getting into it, and he's like, and you're thinking, surely he's not going to take this, and he's just like, yeah, I'm all right with this because this is factual. And then when he brings his kids in, he's like, no, mate, you've gone too far. Take that right back. He has all the best lines, I think. When he was talking to him on the phone, when Harry's talking to on the phone, and he's just like, don't get shirty, Ken. And he's like, he just gets, he's such a good actor. I'm surprised that he doesn't do as much anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't seen him in anything.
He can just get those psycho eyes, can't he? That like, just like looks dead behind the eyes, which is definitely a talent.
Yeah, and he just really gets into, that sort of like Cockney gangster really well.
Yeah.
So, maybe he'll be in one of like the new, like The Gentleman or something like that, like the sequel to that or something.
Yeah. Nice. I personally, I think it would do much worse if it came out now. I think, great. I'm not sure that it would pass muster, which is kind of, I mean, I don't know, the theatrical sort of side of it. And if it was a play, I'm not sure, whether it holds up more or worse.
I think, like you said, because they don't really get that repentant piece. It doesn't really come through, does it? So it's just, you don't really get the toil that Ray's really going through any toil. It doesn't really come through. And so then you've got, like you said, it's always like a play where it's based just, the key film, part of the film really is that it's character based, but you not really got that, you know, a key part of the script doesn't really come through. So if you haven't got any of the action, and then, you know, and that key part is missing. I think from that point of view, even if you think this was a play, you'd be like, okay, if you had these actors on as a play, it like you said, that key piece is there's just not enough repenting in there, right? Or there's not enough retribution for it, you know, and then consequently, because it doesn't come across, you just sort of lose it, and then it just becomes, oh, actually, and then the key scenes that you like really are the scenes between, you know, any of the three main characters, and it's just them talking. Really, that's what makes it a really good scene. It's just like watching good actors actually perform, and then you're like, well, is that actually a film? Or is it just us watching these guys practice?
I kind of felt I felt a bit like it could be like one of those as well, where if it was a play, like the three of them would rotate roles, and almost like could all three of them do any of the three roles, and I think that would be really sort of interesting. That like I think they could all kind of pull off each other's roles. So obviously like Colin Farrell can be a bit of a psycho and stuff, and I think Rafe is probably good enough to pull off the Ray thing. I think that's sort of made me think about that, which would be fun. Maybe that's the sort of swap around the genre. Just I want to see it. I want to see the film 3 different times with each of them playing the other role, and just see how it goes.
Yeah, it's sort of like the ending to Clue. You're like, whoa, what about if it went like this?
Well, some cracking reviews. Which we'll dive into. So there's some very interesting things within this. A lot of them just it almost feels like people think this is just going to be an advert for Bruges, which is just bizarre. Like I don't know any other film where there would be so many comments about it. So someone put it was recommended that I buy this movie for 2 reasons. I enjoy a good comedy. I am planning a trip to Bruges next month and don't know anything about the place. If this is a comedy, then I give in. There are a few parts that made the corners of my mouth turn up slightly, but that was it.
Yeah.
It didn't give me any details about the place, except that I need to avoid towers. You're just like,
yeah, wow.
What? Yeah, it's not a tourism video.
Yeah, that's so weird that's like, you would never, and obviously he's deliberately showing you not the best parts of Bruges to make it seem that you're like, why would you send someone here? This is ridiculous. That's madness.
Slow moving but good intro to Bruges. If you've never been, that was someone else's. So again, like
I'm not sure. I believe that.
Yeah, it's a tourism film. I didn't know what to expect from this film, but I stuck with it till the end. Some good acting and an interesting, if perhaps predictable, storyline. Was it predictable?
Wow.
I'm not sure I'd say it's predictable. But
no, I don't think there's any time that, because like I said, I completely forgot about the kid, and then when it then happens, you're like, oh yeah, that's why they're in Bruges, and then you all like links in. But I don't think that'd be predictable until you see that scene. Yeah, be thinking about it.
And like Harry committing suicide at the end. I'm not sure anyone saw that coming the first time they watched it.
No, no.
Disappointed as so many people said to see it. Not a feel good film. I really want to know if that person's all of the friends of that person was like, oh, you should watch In Bruges. It's a real feel good film, and like completely sold it that way. And then one of the other ones I just loved. With regard to swearing, I'm not a prude, and having spent 50 years working on building sites and factories, I'm used to hearing bad language. But there is far too much unnecessary use of the F and C words. If the filmmaker thinks this swearing adds realism to the story, then why does something like The Godfather or Breaking Bad have hardly any swearing? Well, because they're different characters. It's not like it's like a different circumstance. I'm not sure. So
that's a bit bizarre. I don't understand why people get so hung up on swearing. Like it's such a bizarre scenario, isn't it? Like they're just words. But you know, I know obviously there's connotations behind it, but you're like, why are you worrying so much about it?
Yeah, right. I mean, 50 years spent on building sites and factories,
Yeah,
still too much swearing. So
yeah.
yeah,
He's obviously on some very nice, or he or she on some very nice building sites where everyone was very appreciative and like, oh, hello, so nice to see you. How are you today? Yeah.
How was the weekend? What about those Reds?
Yeah.
So yeah, new way of doing this. So which film do you think it's most like? We'll see if the algo is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does this prove that the algo is right or wrong? Or does it prove that you're right or wrong? I'm not sure, but
This is a good question. I don't know. We do need to set this up of yeah. How do we beat the machines? Well, I mean, I had Man's Bodyguards. That was what I thought. I was like, it's just obviously it's slightly different. It's a bit more comedy, no kid death. But yeah, how about you?
so I went for Lucky Number 11. You ever seen that movie?
Oh yes, yeah.
Because that's kind of quite dark as
that's
well.
a good one.
Yeah. But the
it's hard finding one that sort of had that darkness, isn't it? That's a good one.
Yeah. But the algorithm went with Pulp Fiction, Seven Psychopaths,
Okay,
Lock, Stock, and then Cold Pursuit. I don't know what Cold Pursuit is. I mean, Seven Psychopaths.
Oh, I think that's one with Liam Neeson in. It's one of the Liam Neeson. It's Taken on the Mountain, I think it is. Yeah.
Nice.
You know, like it was like Die Hard on a boat or whatever. Yeah. I think that seems. I'll be pretty happy with them. I think it's nailed them pretty well. Are you happy or not?
I don't know. Pulp Fiction. I was trying to think whether Pulp Fiction is a good one because that's what it leads with. I think almost
it's a very character-based film.
Yeah. Yeah, and I almost feel like Pulp Fiction, like there were no keywords between Pulp Fiction and In Bruges. So to pull out Pulp Fiction, I think is like Seven Psychopaths. Obviously, is just another Martin McDonagh film. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It's like a British gangster film, so I can kind of see that. So actually, I thought like, I think we can give it to it for Pulp Fiction because that is actually, that is actually one.
I think we're going to have to start. Well, I don't know what the tally is. I think it's been a huge comeback from the machine.
Yeah,
it's not looking good for the humans.
Maybe it's getting better. Maybe it's they're starting to they've updated.
Yeah. We'll be mindful. You'll do it here first. This will be where the place where the machines are rising up. I mean, take us over.
We'll be fine in the shop for a little while. We'll just barricade the door.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So it's on the list. We've discussed it. We're not sure that it was quite what we thought, what we remember. So yeah, does it stay on the list? Does it move up? Does it go down? Does it come off?
Yeah. So I mean, it has shades of Four Lions. I would say that I was like, okay. Like, does this come off? But I think I do appreciate what it's trying to do, and I do think it is a really good script, and I do think it does have some interesting questions that I think it just doesn't pull off for me. There's lots of people who absolutely love this film, so so I think it's gonna fall down a little bit. It's gonna stay on the list, and I think it's going to nestle in at 95. Between Looking for Eric, but not quite as high up as BMX Bandits. That's a good place for it.
Yeah.
How about with you're putting the films in order? Where does it sit on yours?
Yeah, interestingly, very close to some that you just mentioned. Yeah, so I had this near the bottom of the list. So this is 18 of 24 where we're at the moment. So nestled just above Four Lions and just below BMX Bandits. So perfect, as you said. I mean, I don't think I'll double head BMX Bandits then this. Maybe watch this first, then BMX Bandits.
Lift your mood. lip-you lead with some bikes down water slide sheep. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, yeah, no, that's that was I don't know. Is it just comedy on reflection when you're analyzing it? Is it as funny? Is it does it take something if you're analyzing a comedy film? All the comedies I feel like have had a bit of a pasting. So interesting.
Oh well, I feel like there's still going to be some more on then. So I think as we move up the list, we'll get to some gold, and I think we should be okay.
Yeah, we'll make these comedies just look even worse. Well, that's great. Yeah, so for next week we'll just learn why money won is twice as sweet as money earned. What I live my life by. Thanks to Tom Evans for the theme song, and we'll see you next week.